Today in the hot seat is myself, Tanayah Sam. I'm interviewed by Aaron Wiggins, CEO of Wiggins Media. The purpose for me being in the hot seat is to give the viewers an insight into my journey and to get some unanswered questions answered.
Today's quite special because we've switched roles. It's actually you in the hot seat this time. There's going to be a few people that are going to be happy about that. There's you that's getting grilled this time. But now, on a serious tonight, tell us a bit about why you started the hot seat. What was it, the aim with it?
Basically, initially, the first set of people that I interviewed, there was some, I call it little gossipers and whispers about them and the stuff that they're doing within the community. And I confronted a couple of people that had brought stuff to me, and I says, well, have you asked them? You know what I mean? And so kind of the idea was born that, you know what, why don't I ask them on camera and everyone can see their answers, and they've got a more informed understanding of why they're probably doing what they're doing, and then they can basically dispel the gossip and the rumors, which ain't good for society, full stop. You know what I mean? So knowledge precedes speech and action. When you know something, then you can have an informed decision and make have a proper understanding about it.
For real, but I mean, you've spoken to some, well-known people in Birmingham, the likes of Zimbo, Dylan Duffus, Craig Pinkney, Twisted Rev as well. I mean, has your conversations with any of them surprised you? Is there anything that you maybe changed your opinion on some of them?
Yeah, I think I did get a better understanding more from, I think, Dylan, more than anyone, got a better understanding of what he's doing in his journey. You know what I mean, with his journey, and I wish him all the best. With Craig, I'm probably, because I'm more closer to Craig, I pretty much knew what was coming. But I loved his response, and I asked him genuine questions that people have, what people have says, and just put it to him, So although I might know the individual, I'm not trying to interview him like I know him as such. This is what people are saying. What's your response to it? And none of them knew what I was going to ask them, So it was literally, that's the genuine responses that I got from them.
Right, now you couldn't be sat in the hot seat if I didn't ask you some sort of difficult question. So what would you say to anybody who, maybe suggests that Tanayah is just trying to cause mix-up by the hot seat and is just trying to, get under people's skin? What's your take on that?
In essence, what I'm trying to do is, let's use, for example, Dylan and Zimbo. There was, they're trying to do stuff in the community to support young people. It's not necessarily what some people would want them to do, but they're trying their own thing, yeah? And it even got to a stage where people were making memes, about them. But and the people are posting these memes, but none of them have spoken to them. None of them know their journey, their real journey. None of them understand, what they're really trying to do and where they're trying to get to. And so the hot seat is about, let's look under the skin and let's actually really have an in-depth conversation. And then the viewer can actually say, you know what, as the case with some of the people that have come back to me, I probably don't like my man, but I get it, and I respect what he's doing, or or whatever it is. So it's not about mix up, because mix up comes when people are susu, right, and they've got no knowledge what they're talking, and it's just what they heard, and then they're just carrying on what they heard. What this is doing is cutting out all of that. This is hard facts. This is straight knowledge, and we can just get on with things. And ultimately, the community, the inner city community, if we look at it, and you see how it is on social media and the memes, people get off on seeing people down, and people get off on making fun of other people and the mistakes and their downfalls. So I'm not down with that. I'm not with it. So it's really about trying to uplift, and actually people will get more support towards these individuals because they understand better of what they're doing.
Makes a lot of sense. Now, I just want to quickly touch on something. you're, obviously Muslim, a converted Muslim as well. Tell us a bit about why you think that so many black males are converting to Islam.
I think it's very good question. It's down to the individual why someone will turn Muslim, and no doubt each person got their own little backstory to it. But I think ultimately Islam and the knowledge that comes within Islam, the education of it, answers a lot of questions that individuals have been seeking all their life and not being able to get the answers to. And so it doesn't, not everybody's going to turn Muslim, but for those who have turned Muslim and those who are genuine, and truly believe in Allah and the Messenger of Allah, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they have a belief that this is the right way for them. And not everyone's an angel. So, in fact, no one's an angel. So mans will make mistakes, and some guys are going to make bigger mistakes than other guys. But ultimately, it's whatever they're looking for within. Islam is answering and ticking the boxes, and for that individual, they're accepting and submitting to Allah, which yeah. I know that in prison, we find that there's more males turning Muslim in prison, and it's white males as well as black males, but this black and Asian males are disproportionately in prison, so there's higher numbers disproportionately. And again, when you're in jail and you're sitting down in your cell and you're reflecting, that's a moment where you're looking at your conscious and subconscious sides. And again, Islam is filling some of the gaps, so to speak, and creating a sense of order for that person.
So one thing you just touched on there about being in your prison cell, I just want to ask you, what would you say is the biggest thing you learned from your time in jail?
There's a lot of things I learned. I learned about myself in prison, and then learned even more about myself coming out with some of the mistakes that I made. I think you learn about other people and how other people view you, who loves you, who don't love you. Islam in prison. Yeah, in prison. I think my views of Islam before I went to prison, because I had converted before I'd served my 9-year sentence, and my views and understanding it changed a bit in terms of when I went into prison and got to how I viewed other Muslims. The system, I definitely understand the system a lot more being in prison and then going back into prison, working in there. You get to see from the two angles, and you see how the system works and how the system profits off crime. There's various things that that I learned through different stages of my sentence.
For anyone watching now who may be getting themselves into trouble or into a bit of a situation, maybe I've got a situation where they potentially might have a case coming up or something like that, made a mistake basically. What's your advice to them in terms of turning it around? Because you've been able to do that. So what would you say to anyone who is sort of at a place where they're worried about what's coming?
Because turning it around is mad hard. People don't realize what we call desistance, desisting from offending, and especially if you're a career criminal or that's your life, it gets harder. An individual who would have committed offense, it depends why they've committed their offense. Some people it's just straight greed, and I'm of the opinion that some people are out there running up and down, right, and a jail sentence they might need that jail sentence to learn. You get me? Some people, they go to jail, they're not going to learn regardless, but the actual individual who wants to change, you got to believe in yourself. Because when you think of man who, say for instance, a Shottingham Road, half of these people that are Shottingham Road they're not coming from poverty. Remember, you shot because it's poor, it's some serious poverty going on, right? And you're just trying to get yourself to a point where you can uplift you and your family, yeah. And then once you're in that predicament where you're uplifted, then you switch it up and you go legit and whatnot. But these people ain't doing that in it, so they're just coming. They've been brought up upon Nike and designer clothes as a child, and then going into shotting, yeah. These individuals, they're not gonna want to learn, you know what I mean. And if you can't hear, you must feel. That's their angle. As in within the other individuals who are going through the struggle, they haven't got self belief that actually you can go legit. You know what I mean? If you look at individuals, let's use the grime kids who started grime, right? And then man, they were shotting, and then they gave up shotting to do grime, right? I'm not necessarily calling people to music. What I'm trying to say is the work ethic and the mindset that they had to believe in what they're doing, and then now they're profiting off it. That's what you got to do. You know what I mean? It's the same mindset that an individual who will go into sports and give up the roads and go into sports or go into business, whatever it is. It's that self-belief and that hard work that you got to do to get to where you want to get to. Then none of us have come off road and have got to a better place, except that we've had to go through some serious struggles, you know what I mean? But it's the self-belief and belief that you know what I mean, things will change, that's carried us through, and that's what they need to do. And jail's bad, but sometimes it's not bad in terms of what it can do for your growth, you know what I mean? But it's down to each individual, because everyone's got their own journey to live. And all I'm going to say to the man them who are really trying to get off road, believe in yourself, man. You know what I mean? Get focused. What is it you want to do? All them haters that you got around you, you need to shake them off. You know, those individuals who are calling you to, you know what I mean, to nonsense, that's only going to get you in trouble. Move up from them. Just do you, walk your journey. It will pay off in the end.
So let's just take it back a little bit, because it's important to speak about the past in order to understand the present. So why did you initially stop all of the gangbanging and that kind of thing?
Yeah. In essence, I had embraced. I had a little small sentence in jail when I was 19, and just before that, I'd been introduced to Islam, and then when I went into prison, that's when I first initially took my shahada. And when I came out, I did want to learn more about Islam and go more down that path, but I didn't know any Muslims, you know what I mean? So I went back on road, and to be fair, I'm on road and I didn't want to be on road, and that's just the truth of it. I believed that there was more to me than that, and you know, it got to a stage where it was like either you come off road, or you know, you basically, you must feel with the elements of what the road brings, whether it's death, whether it's a long time in prison or whatever. And I knew that I had a case looming over me, and I went on the run, and my time on the run was for me to try and change, basically. And I knew I was always going to go to jail.
How long were you on the run for?
4 years.
Oh, wow.
Yes, 4 years. So I always knew I was going to go to jail, but I wanted to be a different person, you know what I mean? And so I went on the run and sought to understand Islam better, traveled to a Muslim country and got to learn and got to be around Muslims and get a connection with my Lord Allah. Because as a youth growing up, I used to read the Bible, right? And I used to love the stories of the prophets, you know what I mean? And my auntie, who she used to be a Jehovah's Witness, and when I was a kid I used to have to go to Kingdom Hall and to the Bible studies, and it didn't connect with me except the stories of the prophets. So when I got to read the Quran and see those same prophets are in the Quran, and some of those stories are more in depth, I was just fascinated, and I just wanted to know more. So ultimately, yeah, I believed that there was more to life. I believed that there was more to myself. And so I kind of just pursued that
So in some ways, do you think Islam sort of saved you then? Because you spent those 4 years, you know, finding yourself in many ways and your connection with Islam. Do you think if you didn't have that, things could be different now?
I mean, from my own personal journey, Islam is without a doubt, as we would say in Islam, Alhamdulillah, that Allah guided me to Islam. I'm not the best of Muslims. There's people out there that can say, he does this, he does that. I'm not, free of mistakes and sin and things. But in terms of the general guidance and, for my life and understanding why I'm here upon earth, where I'm going when I'm dead, and where I'm trying to get to in the afterlife, then Islam's the one for me. And Islam made me value not only myself, but value life of others. You know what I mean? And there's a saying in Islam, command the good and forbid the evil. And it's one of the most noble things to do. And that's in essence how I got into doing the work that I'm doing, trying to just inform and raise awareness to young people about, the perils of the road and the realities of it, and for them to believe in their greatness and go towards more positive things. That's all coming from in essence the teachings of Islam, and that's how I'm trying to live. Now, yes, there's some people out there say, well, I'm not Muslim and I do good and da da da. That's their journey. We all got our own journey, and for me, Islam is the way, and so I'm about that.
I respect it, I really do. Now, of course, you served your time in prison. If you fast forward to now, you've got TSA projects. You've been working in prisons, working in schools. But just talk to me about when you first came out and how difficult it was to get from there to where you are now, in terms of the taboo of being in jail, having the conviction behind you, and trying to break into schools and stuff like that, and do positive work in the community. How tough was that journey for you?
I wrote down in this book, I wrote down from jail, because obviously in jail you meet loads of man you had beef with, man who you was friends with, whoever. I did a tour around the country in terms of 13 jails, right? And enough man that I was speaking to was saying that they don't want road, and they want better for themselves, but more they want better for their children, yeah. So and then I also saw how the prison officers dealt with especially the man them who used to gangbang and be on road and then turning Muslim, and they're trying to do good, and how the officers dealt with them. So the seeds were planted from then for me, and I wrote down in a book that I'm gonna come back into jail and try and help the man them, and I want to try and help the youth. So I had already written those things. So when I come out of jail now, and I had one and two people who, shouts out to Raymond Douglas, Craig Pinkney, Dr. Martin Glynn. These individuals were mentoring me and trying to open doors for me to get a little bit of work, but it was only little bits of work, but still they was able to get some money in my pocket. But at the same time, there wasn't enough going on, so I was doing working on the rail track. Not me, just weren't feeling it. You know what I mean? So I was getting mad disheartened with it, and I was trying. It was difficult. It was hard, and it got to the point where I was thinking, oh man, what am I gonna do? And I got this belief, from Islam, that our provision, our wealth is written for us. So going on road isn't really an option, because whether I go on road or do it legitimately, I'm gonna get the same amount of money that Allah has written for me. You know what I mean? So I was feeling disheartened, and then I got a phone call after praying, making dua as we call it. I got a phone call about, do you want to work in prison? 18 months later, you know what I mean? And the brother Abdul Rahim hooked me up with a lady named Paula Harriet. Big respect to Paula Harriet. She got me into working into prisons. You know what I mean? And that was that's my dream, to go back in that and try and help mans. You know what I mean? And it was not as easy as I thought. The thing, like, it was affecting me differently in different ways. To see people who I'd looked up to see people who were, I was close friends with, to see people, just down and out. And I was like, from going into the youth prisons, thinking that's how me and my friends used to look. And he's speaking to children who are 19 years old and they've got to serve 26 years in prison. It's like, but you're 9, you ain't even, And seeing all that, because I've lived it, I wasn't able to go home and switch off. So it was affecting me, And I couldn't switch off, and it was affecting even my character. Sometimes I'm talking aggressively to people and just, because of the frustration of what I'm just seeing, the injustice in the prison. And I felt like no one weren't really able to understand. The only person, my sounding board, was Dr. Martin Glynn. He understood. He got what I was saying. So it was mad difficult, but within all of that, there was the growth period, and it's so important, man. The struggle refines you, and enables you to grow. And then I got to start to understand the system better and start to cope with the stresses, manage it better, and it got to the stage where I felt like not only was I I didn't leave the company that I was working for. It wasn't the best of situations how I left, but in essence I left and then carried on working in prison. But it got to the stage where I'm like, I think I'll be more effective in schools and want to work with the youth in schools, because the prison system, boy, it kind of designed for the majority to return back anyway. And I got to see, like, no matter how much we're trying to do what we're doing, the struggle, it's designed so that the man them fail. You know what I mean? You got to battle, you got to dig deep to not fail. So, you know what? Let's try and educate these youth and let's help them not get to prison in the first place, not get caught up in that trap. And that's me, command the good, forbid the evil. It's more about, supporting, whether it's man them in jail, and man them means it can be man them from my area, man them from opposing areas, man them from, who is white and never met him before. I don't care. Mans who are in prison that want support and help, I'm trying to support and help them. And a better quality of life for all prisoners. And, I was able to facilitate and support the prisoners and help them get that in some way. So, it's something that I'm pleased about.
You should be. And, now as a father, as someone who's a lot older and wiser, what do you make of today? And the issues of today. Of course, Birmingham's the gun crime capital. There's a lot of issues in London, as we see regularly. So what's your take on it, and how do you think the Tanayah of, say, 20 years ago would be today?
I hear a lot of the adults, because we're adults now, and we're, in essence, we're the father age of the youth today. And, a lot of people, they're doing this and they're doing that. And the reality is we was doing the same things. We was jumping, when mans were MCing on those jungle tapes, right, and baiting ourselves up, it's a said thing. And what we need to understand is when we was doing that as young people, the adults were like, they're crazy, what all them are doing, So we just have to accept that the youth are in their world, in their era, and they're gonna do really dumb things, and I think the truth is, if I was in this era, I'd probably be doing the dumb things too, unfortunately. If I go by the comparison of what I was doing previously, but the system, society, the way the British society is set up. Unfortunately, we're going to continuously see what's going on with the gangs and gun crime and the knives and that it's far deeper than just, these set of youths are fighting with those youths and it's because of a postcode. It goes way deeper, and people don't want to scratch under the surface for the most part.
But I was going to say then, do you think that anybody could have said anything to you at that time or back when you were, that same young person, do you think anybody could have said anything to you to deter you from it, or do you think that it was just set in stone and you had to learn yourself through your experiences, through going to jail and through the struggles?
Well, there's the shoulda, coulda, woulda thing. In essence, obviously, my journey was written for me, but no doubt there were individuals in my life, and with most of our youth, there's going to be individuals in their life that have got a positive impact, and it's just how much of a role that individual played for the influence to take root really with a young person, and we males have a serious role to play in society that, in essence, we're not fulfilling our roles, especially in a city, and so our youth are taking on some of those teachings from the males, but it's the bad elements. And you look at society, we glorify badness. You know what I mean? That society glorifies, but the artists that, in terms of music, who everyone's down with, them man is rapping about gun and taking off a man's melon. You know what I mean? And their hollow tips and their this and that. That's who we look at the films that we're going to watch. Them films are violent films, and we there with our popcorn watching violence. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, that's the makeup of society. You know what I mean? People get a kick off that, but the positive elements to our society. Your man who's an architect, you know what I mean. Your man who's a successful business entrepreneur, businessman. These individuals, we're not putting them on the pedestal. You know what I mean. But look out for the winner's mindset, because we're gonna switch that up, and we're gonna put some of those individuals on the pedestal because they need to be in the spotlight more. And we've got a lot to learn from them, and our youth, that's who our youth needs to be following, because our youth can achieve anything. We're in 2018, you know what I mean, and it's called the entrepreneur's revolution. You can do anything in life, and you can be a million. When since have we got inner city man being millionaires, not off drugs, off straight business? 2018, we're seeing that. We ain't seen that before. You know what I mean? As such, not on the numbers that we're seeing, and it's gonna go more and more where we're gonna see more of that. So why are we putting them geezers on a pedestal that are just trying to lure the youths them to violence and to mash up their lives and to sit down in jail? We should be putting the man them who are doing amazing stuff on a pedestal and looking at them as the role models and getting our inspiration from them. And that's one of the things that I hope to do through TSA Media.
Well, you literally just answered my next question for me in many ways. What's to come next? What's going on with TSA Media? What's the concept you mentioned there about winner's mindset?
Winner's mindset, which is soon to drop. In essence, it kind of says it all. Winner's mindset. The winners, their mindset. That's what we need to be looking at. The mindset of winners. And again, our people who are doing amazing and beautiful things, we need to support them and to take inspiration from them, to take knowledge, you know what I mean, from them, and lessons, and how we can become winners just like them. Because it's about us. We want to be winners. No one wants to struggle. You know what I mean? No one wants to struggle, but we don't all have to do what John's doing and what you know what I mean, Marcus is doing and what Tobiah's doing. We've got our own path. You know what I mean? We've got our own path, and we need to just have that self-belief so that we can follow our own path. We've also got minus versus plus. Yo, people, minus versus plus. I'm
Talk to us.
hands.
Talk to us.
I don't want to drop anything about minus versus plus, but it's about to drop, and it's going to be a talk show, so to speak. And we're looking at the culture, because we like to dismiss the culture that we, you know what I mean, inner city youths create a culture that them man there that's in the suit and tie up in the suburban areas are profiting off. You know what I mean? The upper class look down to the middle lower class, take the culture and profit from it. We need to start taking ownership of our own culture and understanding our culture and profiting off our culture and again putting the right people on the pedestal and not the man that are just calling people to foolishness.
With Tanayah, in the words of Tanayah, you answered all the questions. Thank you for joining me on the hot seat today.
Thank you very much, man.
No problem.
Appreciate it.